Thank you. Well, thank you for doing this. You're old time.
Oh,
Been doing
hey.
this.
Hey, I love this. I love this form of communication. And hey, everybody, we are, in fact, as an experiment, I wonder if I could post this on Nextdoor and have people join in real time. Let me try that. If they boot it, I don't care. If they boot me, I don't care.
They should love you next door.
Hey, it depends on the person, but you know what? Like I said, I've been in the public eye for 30 years, so I've seen everything. It's like, okay, whatever, fine. There's somebody over there named Catherine Falk who really hates Seneca, and I was saying, hey, you should watch our interview because Seneca popped in and Eduardo. Now, Seneca and I have had tons of arguments, but he's my friend. I mean, I don't care, right? And I mean, I'm not going to drop a friendship because I disagree with them about things. I'm going to try to get them to see my way, not necessarily the highway, but my way, And
That's a good one.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
the highway, my way.
right, because I'm right and you're wrong, and that's all there is to it. So, but some people just like to sort of dismiss people today, and I'm like that. I think that's retrograde. I really think it's, it's ruined the society. It's kind of like, gee, you can't stand on your own 2 feet and make an argument, because a lot of people they'd rather dismiss rather than debate. I'm saying, hey, look, if your brain is active, you can debate, right? You can tell them how you feel, tell them what's out there, tell them what's going on, let them know all that stuff, right?
Don't cancel someone, right? And then don't ignore them and don't talk to them anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're still, it's like, what happened here? What went wrong? I don't even know.
Yeah. It's like, huh? What? Huh? What? Huh? What? So I'm posting this one second, posting this link.
Yeah. That's pretty funny that you said that.
Folks, we're talking live about the ballot problem for Oakland at large. And let me get this title. Put that over there. Boom. Say join us. Boom. All right. And let me put your picture up there where I had it. Okay. All right. I think I have that. Wait a minute. I have this. Wait a minute. Come on. What are you doing? Zenny.
Was your background in economics?
Actually, my focus was in actually urban economics and in city planning, and as an undergraduate at Texas Arlington, and then I went to grad school at Cal, the same thing, and yeah, and so so it's on Nextdoor. It says, "Hey, folks, talking live about the ballot problem for Oakland at large," and I think I can share it, can't I? Can I? Anyway, there it is. Okay. So if people want to join me, all they have to do is click, or us, they can just click the button. It's there. All right. So that's there. I'll close that. I'll close this, and we are here. Okay, now we are here. All right. It's all distributed. It's all everywhere. And folks, if you've ever been to the Spice Monkey, this beautiful woman that I'm reintroducing yet again was the founder and proprietor and ringleader of that fantastic restaurant, and I'm blessed to have her back again. Welcome back.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you for having me back. And you can still visit me at Howden Market, which is next door to Spice Monkey. We are still here, 10 year going. It's been quite a blessing to be on this corner here, holding it down as the anchor. I'm not sure how long I could be able to do this, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun journey.
Hey, tell them the address, by the way.
What is it?
Tell them the address, your address.
Oh, 1630 Webster Street, Oakland, California, in the Uptown District.
1630 Webster, the Great
Yeah,
Webster Street.
the great one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
folks, if you're wondering kind of like where she is and okay, I'm going to show you right now via the magic of technology right here. So you can't say, hey, I don't know how to read a map, because boom, all right. And you see that, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And you see that dot is where she's at. And if you scroll down, there's the building. So
Yeah.
there's the dot right there, and there's the building, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the great and grand and glorious building that she's in.
Oh my.
Been to a million times, and the great new, is that the Athlon? I love that thing.
Yeah, that's the Zoe building. It's you remember when it was a American Cancer? So
Wow.
big difference, right? And that used to be the Douglas parking lot.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember. And
Yeah.
I remember both of these were under construction in 2019, and I made a video passing by them in my car, and I was remarking about how it's really going to change, the thoroughfare. But it kind of has, huh? What do you think? I mean, it obviously has by escape, but
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if because of the pandemic, though. Well, those are apartments, so that's a different story. I just wonder if anybody's done a study of where those folks go. Do you get any of these folks, patrons, coming by?
Oh yeah, they are. They are my great customer. It's been like a revolving door though. Because I believe it's almost like you call it the bedroom community where people just kind of sleep and go to work.
Yeah.
Or kind of a influx from San Francisco, and I think a lot of people just kind of coming from all over, and now they're kind of here because they have this awesome deal. I think it's like 3-month move-in discounts. Yeah.
Free stuff, right?
Yeah. So a lot of young folks are moving in here. Then they're also leaving every year because of the deals is over. So they're just going to different places.
Oh, so maybe they get like 3 months rent free here, and they jump.
Correct. Yeah, they're young. They only have a dog, and they don't have much to. It's not like you have children and school district and all of that. It's a little more complicated, right? When you move, you have to think a lot about all the different factors that goes with it. These are more like younger folks or people traveling, professional job traveling, or life transition is another one that I see quite a bit. That some became really good friend of mine the last 4 years. Well, it's been kind of like almost 4 years now since all these buildings being occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it is that they really don't have the income to normally afford first and last month's rent, or not think because the law was changed in California. It's just first month's rent, right? And thanks to our assembly member, who was once a fan of the channel, was our San Francisco assembly member, Matt Haney. Yeah, Matt. So he was really the driver of that. But they don't have any money. And so they go there and take these, like, sometimes there's 6-month deals, right? And when the 6 month is up, it's like, we're out of here. We'll take our money someplace else. What little cash we've got. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Well, it's like my campaign. I said I was I want to protect the small business, the working class. I feel like we're all one paycheck away from being homeless. It is so stressful and it's so expensive. And between all the tax and the fees, it's crazy. It's just like we need to make better laws and policy that protect the people who work and live in the city.
Woody Woodpecker is a troublemaker, and I think I actually know who this is. Says the crime is just too bad in Oakland. We may even get to the point of a curfew. Chang's Coliseum deal is the greatest Ponzi scheme ever, just pure evil. Okay, fine. Hey, take us to, let's shift gears and talk about the matter at hand, which I blogged about at zenireport.com, in which I gave, at the behest of your campaign manager, I changed the title.
I'll let him know. We excited.
Yeah, I called it because he was saying, well, don't call it the joint statement. Don't do. And so what I did, I said, well, I thought about it after, he hung up on me because he did. He hung up on me. And I was kind of looking, I was like this, and they went click. And so I sent him a video of a clip from the Star Trek episode Shore Leave, where Spock has his notebook recorder, and which is kind of like a neat computer like the iPad of today, right? It was arguably the forerunner of the iPad of today, and it was a television show. And he's saying, Captain, there is a crew member that refuses to go down to the planet on shore leave. And Kirk says, well, who is that? He goes, well, this crewman is prone to bouts of irritability, has gone without sleep for far over the appropriate amount of time, and that's not allowed, and that person could be pushed, he could be put out of the service for this. Who is this, right? And he says, and this person needs to is overdue for rest and relaxation. I'm paraphrasing the entire scene. Who is this person? And Spock looks at him blankly and says, Captain James T. Kirk.
Oh.
I got him.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's been a lot of energy campaigning, and the amounts of I guess the effort and the energies and everything that we have put into, and the amounts of the result that we got, we just kind of flabbergasted with what happened, right? And we just kind of all. So Ananda himself was the one who voted on the electronic machine, and then I have some staff here at the Howden Market have expressed the same thing. Not that they're all talking to each other. It was just something that they were like, hey, I want to vote for you, and I was having a hard time finding your name.
Wow.
And if I already vote the 5 vote, then what happened? I have to flag down a poll voter help, and they come and they have to reset the whole thing, and you have to do it all over again. And that was his experience. He's been with me for almost 14 years here. So he said, I knew you were running, but he's like, people didn't know, they would have just skipped you altogether. Like that's pretty wild. And he just kind of in a way of making fun of me, kind of like, oh, wow, thank God this is over now. Because, the staff have been holding it down here pretty hard. So they're just like, oh my God, what's next, right? If Kanitha wins the election, is she going to shut it down and we're all going to have to look for a job? Like, what's the situation here? So people making fun of the whole thing.
That's the tough part about being an entrepreneur. And I think people don't realize is when you start a business, you stick your neck out there being responsible for other people and their livelihoods, right?
Correct.
That's the hard part about it. That's hard for me, hard for, that's why I don't do IOUs, I say, look, if I don't have the cash to pay you, then I'm not going to ask for the service, and I'll just scale back until I do, and then I'll scale up when I've got it, and that's what we have to do. And people think that is being mean or anything, and it's not. It's just that, you don't want to be in a position where you're an IOU to an employee who's a friend of yours, even if they're not a friend, but they're employees and they're contract partners in your business. You don't want to leave them, high and dry. It's like, hey, look, I know I owe you, but I can't pay you. That's horrible, right? And so oh my goodness. But that's why it's incumbent upon government to really help us out as entrepreneurs. But this mess, though, this mess is basically people not be able to find your name, and then also Selika's name, because Selika mentioned this. It was Pastor Robinson turned me on to the problem, because he said he heard about it, and then he called me again and then said, oh, well, it's on Tavares's blog or whatever he does. And I know what he does, but whatever. And then he said, you should do something about it. And I hadn't heard from Selika at all. I still haven't heard from her. And I've interviewed her twice. All right. I mean, twice. So,
Oh, well,
yeah, she tried. She even at one point asked me to be her campaign manager, and I said, no, I don't want to be that. I didn't think that wasn't where I wanted to play a role. I mean, it could have been, digital content distribution, but I didn't want to play that role, put that role out, and it was just way too early. I was just thinking about stuff. But um, the bottom line is, all of a sudden, then she got somebody else that was involved, and whoever she got involved that she didn't name, that person altered her approach entirely. So I think, so she wound up at the bottom, and she started really early. I mean, really early. So this was kind of adding her, people not being able to see her name because she was at the bottom, and was adding crap on crap for her because she wasn't. You have a name, right? She doesn't have a name per se, and it was buried. So did she talk to you about this or get a hold of you? Because it was written up, but what's the situation there? Because your campaign manager was kind of like, don't mention her, and I'm like, why? It happened to her. I mean, dude, what are you doing? Just so what? And the thing about it is that he texted me.
Yeah.
Exactly the opposite at first.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, was he doing weed?
No. So we wanted to. So I spoke to Selika prior to, because I just wanted to meet every candidate, and I met everyone, and I tried to get to know everyone, and out of an inspiration of why they're running, and we're all in it together. So therefore, we should just get to know one and another, and that we will continue maintain, because some of them I got to know really well during the campaign, because we were in every forum together, and some I host meet and greet together with. Selika was the only one that I couldn't get a hold of, and then toward the end he did contact me. I emailed her through her website, and she got back and she said, hey, I took class at Laney and I'm going to stop by, and it's very close. And since then we're still playing that, kind of trying to meet up, and she's been sick, and then this whole thing arrived after, actually, and then I called her and left her a message about the situation and try to get her to join us on the joint statement, because she is on the second page with me, and she just haven't really returned my call on that, and maybe she's still sick, and I hope she's okay. And,
me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Or something happened. I hope it's nothing. And I pray for her. I hope it's not.
I even call her yesterday. Yeah, so hopefully she's okay.
Yeah, I'm actually sending her a link right now in case she sees this and she wants to join us. Right? We're giving you chances to come on and talk with us. You know what I mean?
That would be great. Yeah, I would love to meet Selika. I only see her online, and I never meet her in person. And she have a great story, with what happened to her sister and everything. And yeah, we need more people to run for office, and we need some balanced one for sure. We need people that will bring not too this way and not too that way, just the middle,
Right, exactly. Hey, curious, what happened yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting for the board, for the registrars meeting? What happened? What happened there? I was going to attend the live stream. I double booked. I had to do this for my client, so I wasn't able to do that. But I figured, well, I've got Kanitha on; she'll fill me in, and us.
Yeah, there was a couple different interested party that arrived to the, I believe it's the election committee board. It was not the supervisor. The supervisor was a couple weeks ago. This one is all about election committee board. And
the registrar.
And the person, there's a bunch of different group that was there presenting, what they have going on prior case. Some old business, like 3 years ago or more, that they already have situation with the election system. And I happened to be there also to join to said what happened to us, and we also sent a joint statement as of now, there's 7 candidates out of the 10 have signed to said, we do want to readdress this, and we do believe that there is an error that should occur. So that's what we did. I went there, I presented in person. Hoping to get them to, because I realized that some of them didn't really know what's going on at all, and they have to be filled in. And my hope is that to preventing it from happening again, because there is going to be quite a bit of a mayor or running, and hopefully that everyone have a fair shot, and making sure that people can vote for them accordingly, and not like having trouble finding their name or. And for me, I'm someone who, for first time runner, I wasn't like thinking I'm going to collect the first time vote, like beating everyone who's been in the system forever. But at least from how hard we were campaigning and how much funding we were spending, and we were everywhere, I was hoping that I would at least get the second or the third rank or fourth rank, and if this is the ranked choice system, the way I understand it, it will affect every single thing. And what I found out is that what happened prior to the election year was Treva Reed was in my position. And it was she was also apparently did not collect a lot of vote, just in the same situation as I am, even though she was very popular and very well liked. So I think this would have cost Lauren Taylor an election because of how close it was, to think back about it. I believe it was 600 something, and then
177 votes apart between Shang and Lauren. Yeah.
Correct. And if people that could rank Treva, and some of those points could have gone to Lauren, and there you go. These are the kind of things that I believe that there's an error, and when there is an error, there is an error. And then with that said, we have to really address, that democracy need to be stand and fair. And since we have this ranked choice voting, which is very confusing, it should be, I don't know, maybe we should get rid of it or educate people.
I think the main problem with ranked choice voting practiced in our parlance, using Dominion voting machines, using the software that requires updating, although they're saying the latest doesn't require as much updating, but I don't know what as much updating means. And the question is, and then they say they run these tests on them, and the question this cycle is, and really the legislature should install some sort of rule that the registrars up and down the state have to release the results of their machine tests before the election.
Yeah. And
how these things are working,
We spoke with some people that's kind of been on this case in San Francisco and other. They said that in San Francisco, they fit all the candidates into it's the same model machine. And they also made the voter vote for all the candidates. So if it's 10 candidates, they have to rank 10 candidates. So then they don't miss anything before they start the next page. So maybe these are some of the systems that Alameda County could look into, and to prevent any more error that could occur.
I remember when I had Tim Dupuy, I don't know if you saw my interview with Tim Dupuy, registrar. That was from 2022. But we talked, he called it a TED Talk for an hour. And, oh my Lord, it was an hour and 38 minutes and 8 seconds.
Wow, that's a long.
And I'll give you a preview, or I'll give you a view of what was the conversation during that time, because I was wondering, and I meant to go back and see if we had discussed. We've discussed a lot along ranked choice voting, so really this is the something to watch. Here's a taste.
Wow. Well, he have a very tough job. It's a lot of moving part.
Yeah, let me give you a taste of what he was saying. Here's a taste of it. And we're talking about ranked choice voting during that mayoral election. So here what?
I couldn't. Is it going to?
Can you hear it?
No.
Oh, I think I know why. Let me try something. I think it's because of the echo system. So if I turn off audio, right off echo cancellation, you may be able to hear. You might have an echo, but let me try it now. Let me try that now. Okay.
Voting votes.
Now can you hear it? Okay, good.
Ms. Victory had to give. Why did that happen? And then I went back and I explained that in 2010, Rebecca Kaplan and Jean Quan famously teamed up to run for mayor of Oakland in the first year ranked choice voting was used. They campaigned for months. The final outcome was that Jean Quan got 2/3 of all second place votes, and the spread was directly attributable to their team up. And I refer to my interview with City Attorney John Russo, where we talked about the impact of that team up on the election outcome. And I have to actually fast forward to go back here a bit, which should be there. If this buffering would stop. If it doesn't, I'll just simply go ahead and explain what he said, because it looks like I'm not going to get any love from the buffer gods. So let me just stop that. What John had said was that at that time, Don Parada was the front runner. He received 35% of the vote. You might remember this. I do. Yeah. And John famously said, why this isn't coming up is whatever, but he said, look, in this video, he says, look, Zenny, the only way that Jean Quan can win is she got 2/3 of the second place votes, and that ain't happening. Well, it happened the next day. And he called me, he goes, Zenny, take that down. It's wrong. I said, what are you talking about? It's not wrong. You're a genius. And I write here, this time in 2022, the situation is different. Shang Tao and Alyssa Victory did not campaign together for months. And on top of that, I asked Alyssa Victory if Shang Tao was her second choice, and she said, quote, no, Greg Hodge was, unquote. But we both agreed that perhaps it was Shang mentioning that Alyssa was her second choice. But if that were the case, then Alyssa Victory should have picked up a large number of Shang Tao ranked choice votes, but that never happened. And what did happen, from my perspective, numerically, was that a shockingly uniform pattern of percentage of votes was transferred from Alyssa Victory to Shang Tao. 59.64%, rounding to 60%. That was true for the most recent run. And the one.
Stop it. It was like, Kanitha, it was like somebody just put in 6.60 and just kept hitting it like that. It was wild. You look at the runs, that's what it looked like. Let's listen to this.
The day before it. On that November 17th day, I vlogged Shang got 6,475 votes from Alyssa Victory, or about 60% of the 10,882 votes she had to give. That same percentage appeared yet again, was actually about 59.5%, yet again, for the same transfer of votes from Alyssa Victory to Shang Tao on November 17th too. Moreover, Alyssa Victory, was given the majority of her vote, giving the majority of her votes to Shang Tao is in a giant-sized batch, is a pattern I noticed from the second day of ranked choice voting runs up to Friday. Okay? While I did not check the percentage then on the second day, I would not be surprised if it came out to be about 60%. And these aren't runs I can go back and go into your system and check. I have to vlog them, and I vlog most of them, but not all of them. And I noticed this anomaly a couple of days before I started to really zero in on it. Hence, but I did mention it in those previous videos. But I digress. And I wrote in this interview with Alyssa Victory 2 days ago, and I'm not going to play it. He says, at the 5:30 mark, I note that she gave over 58% of her shareable ranked choice votes to Shang when I presented the run from Wednesday, November 16th. That's just less than 1%, far less than 1% difference from Thursday to Friday. No. Now, Alyssa does admit that Greg Gotch had her as number 2, but says that people can vote however they want. That's what she says. For me, the point is, Alyssa's people had a weird pattern of picking Shang 58 to 59% of the time through the entire run.
Right.
And then I go on
Non-stop.
to make sure this hits home intellectually.
Kanitha, every single run, the percentage was basically the same. To me, and so this is, yeah, and it's a very kind way of saying, hey, look, this looks fixed. All right. And so he gets to this.
All right. I find it very concerning that the same 59.64% or thereabouts, rounding 60% percentage of votes, was shared from Alyssa Victory to Shang Tao for each of these runs each day, because you were releasing these runs by email daily.
That's right.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but in my opinion, that looks fishy. As if someone were pre-picking votes for Shang using a code that broke off roughly 60% of the votes and dumped them into Shang's column on a spreadsheet. One should expect an uneven or non-linear pattern. This one is far too machine-like. And then I write, why the uniform outcome on a per-run basis? That's to be investigated. It's way too weird, especially since Shang was not Alyssa's second choice, and their names are not even next to each other on the 2022 Oakland election ballot. And then I continue and I write, I want to make sure you understand the gravity of this problem. First, we presumably have votes counted each day for each candidate. Second, one should expect that the percentage of those new votes counted and shared in ranked choice voting to be different for each day of the vote count, right? In other words, they're different each day, but they come out to 59% on the end, okay? Right? Third, that's where the problem comes in, the vote. The percentage of those new votes counted and shared in ranked choice voting from Alyssa Victory to Shang Tao is, for all practical purposes, nearly the exact same percentage each day. That makes no sense at all for that pattern to turn up 3 to 4 times in a row, unless, in my opinion, it was predetermined. But that's what happened. Your response, Tim.
All right. So let's talk about ranked choice voting and a little bit about our updates. I think the comment that says, that maybe have been how they campaigned, and that's what they may have asked their people, their supporters, to choose as their second vote. But people are allowed to vote how they want to vote, right? They're independent. So, I've been doing this for a while, as you know, and I've seen elections where it follows essentially a straight line on the percentage. And I've had people who say, well, that's how all elections should run. We should see the early votes on early votes and what we post on election night. We should be able to do like a statistical sample, back from our statistics classes, we do a random sample, and that small percentage should just straight line project out at that rate. And that's how we should see what the outcome is going to be. I've seen some elections where that seems to be the case. It follows a straight line. I've also seen some elections where
voting?
For any voting, right?
I mean, for ranked choice. That's why I say for ranked choice.
No, I'm just saying in general. Sometimes the early votes are mimicking what the rest of the votes come in at. Sometimes the early votes are not representative of what the later votes come in at, and we see divergence. So. I've seen both cases, and I've seen arguments. You can imagine we hear people evaluating the elections in all sorts of different ways, and they expect to see things following patterns. Well, it isn't a lab. It isn't following, a predetermined pattern. Voters are voting the way they vote.
That's what I'm getting at, and I'm going to stop that right there. And this is what, and I don't think Tim and I really fleshed this out beyond that. But my point is that when you're doing ranked choice voting, you're doing who's giving what votes. The votes are already there, right? And you're trying to count the second places. And all I'm saying is that it seems, I mean, you could think of it like, okay, if you have a batch of votes and they're taking those batches, then maybe it's that 60% of, say, well, let's say with Charlene. Charlene gave a huge number of votes to Rowena, right? And I mean, he outsized, like 49% of her second choice votes went to Rowena.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let me put the echo cancellation on. Now that we went through that. Okay, now try that again because I think your voice got a little. Say that one more time.
Oh yeah, same with me. Charlene and I was originally doing our recommendation 1 and 2 situation, but it again her vote number 2 went to Rowena versus mine. Same for me. A lot of majority of my vote also went to Charlene and Rowena, even though Rowena and I did not rank together, didn't do anything together even. So it's really strange, and it's I don't understand the system. But it's there's
Yeah,
a lot of pressure. And you're right, and I like how you point that out. How come everything is so almost like
uniform.
right? Yeah, very uniform. It's like it shouldn't be that way. It should be more random, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's, I mean, how else to explain it except, okay, if 60%, if 49% of those votes came in, does that mean that if I grab a chunk as the runs come in, they should be equal? Because that would imply that you're getting all of their votes at once, and you're taking the total chunk and you're dividing it.
Yeah.
Some kind of way, right? There's something hinky there. All right.
I don't think the formula is correct.
Yeah, and that's to me. See, to me, it shouldn't be a formula. It should be just actual count. And there was something in. I have to go back over what he and I discussed because there was a comment he made that gave me the willies about that, but it was essentially left my question unanswered as to how. Oh, you know what it was?
Unknown caller.
Hold on a second. I don't think this is. Let me see if there's somebody watching us. Hello, are you watching our interview? Are you watching? Yeah, whatever. Okay. This is a message from AC Alert. That's AC Transit. At any rate, my point is that that was recording. What he said, and I have to go back and find it, was basically that it was there was a term he used. I don't want to throw out the term for fear of being misunderstood, but it's spelled to uncertainty. And as I look at it, and I would dare say you agree with me, this shouldn't be a black box. It should be simple. It shouldn't be, well, there's this thing going on. It's got these algorithms and it's estimating. Wait a minute. You have people who are actually casting votes, right?
Yeah.
Count those votes. And that should be it. If you have a ballot that doesn't work, kick that ballot out.
Yeah.
Out, right?
And it's a lot of there's a lot of questioning in a certain thing that's the way it's being done. And another different, it's like it's taking a long time. Like why Alameda County taking forever to put out vote, and so these are all the different questions. And I met a bunch of people that have been working on this. It's kind of interesting. So that's the reason why I decided to kind of release that joint statement and speak to my fellow candidate who said, hey, we could help preventing future error. like, let's do something. So a lot of the candidates joined me and said they would love that. And so yeah, I just don't want this to happen to someone else. It's a lot of work, and you get very disappointed. You definitely want to make sure that your constituent is being represented. If they're voting for me or voting for someone else, it needs to show up that way, right? It shouldn't be all confusing and we're all still left very like, well, what's going on here? So
What was the reaction yesterday? Because I know I started to ask you about that. I got tied up in presenting.
the reaction is the commissions, some of them are very kind of confused. They didn't even know that was happening. Some of us have some more questions. Unfortunately, I have to leave early because I'm still bearing with work that I neglect for the last almost 7 months being campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to leave to another meeting, but that was the take when I was there. They were kind of confused about it, and they're like, what is this all about? And there's some other situation. There's other people that's there talking about getting rid of ranked choice voting altogether.
Yeah.
And then other people who requesting to recount the ballots for the supervisor, I believe the D5 between John Bauer and Nikki Bass,
Mm-hmm.
because it's again a very close election.
Yeah.
Then, of course, us saying that there's error on the electronic machine, and that need to be preventing from happening. And we would like to not certify this one, but not to alter the outcome, which is a little complex in terms of our request, I think. But, we're just going to put it out there. We see what the supervisor will say. We send them all a letter, and we send everybody a letter, matter of fact. So we'll see. And I think that you you also on the same path in terms of questioning this whole situation, and you've been at this. So I'm just new to the game over here, but I'm kind of shocked that it's still happening. Right? It should be fixed. Like we shouldn't have.
Right. It happens because the electorate doesn't care to change it, and it complains about what it gets in terms of, and the uncertainty. I don't think anybody should allow uncertainty in voting, because it spells, hey, you were left out, right? Or, and I have to be candid with you. The first time I heard about the whole name issue, my initial thought was, wait a minute. If you campaigned and people looked for your name, then that shouldn't be an issue because they'll just scroll. But what you just said here, to me, made me realize how wrong I was initially, even though I changed my mind before we started talking. And you said that there are people who are looking for your name. Looking for your name. People who are looking for your name who couldn't find it. Right? That's horrifying. Okay? That's horrifying. And that's what caused me to change my mind.
Yeah, and exactly that. And it's just like, my staff have shared. He said, if he didn't know me as well as he did, and he know I was running, he could assume that I had dropped out of the race, or, he heard of me, or he read something, because there was quite a bit of media on me. And he was like, oh, I would have liked to rank that person, but I guess she's not here anymore, and then skip, right? And whoever could have collected my rank, if I didn't make it to the next Round, they also lost a vote. So that's how we all connected, and we're all being affected by this whole outcome. And now for sure, like, I feel like this is the reason why the reason where we are today, where we have to recall a mayor, or like people's like, I mean, the vote was so close. Like if people could have found Kiva's name, which is another popular candidate, maybe outcome could have been completely different, because there's so many candidates, right? And so here's a situation that we really, really, really need to stress, and we really need to address, because Oakland is in so much need of help, and we need good leadership. And people who's voting, they need to be able to represent their vote and their voice, and this need to be correct. And I am so glad that you are sharing this, and you are been on this work, and hopefully we can make some change.
Yeah, that's what it takes. I think it takes an initiative but the initiative has to, in my opinion, solve a number of questions at once. First of all, do we want ranked choice voting, yes or no? And also, if we don't want ranked choice voting, that kicks out the machines used theoretically. If it doesn't, then the question is, what kind of machine system do we want to use that has been proven around the country? I can tell you it's not Dominion. All right. Dominion has a great track record of paying out political money for, elected officials so that they can be the decided favorite choice among the government. And that works for them, but does it work for the people? And the answer in our context would seem to be no. That's just my opinion.
It's making everything so complicated and more expensive.
Hey, so overall, I got to ask you, how was the race for you? What did you feel like you did right, and what did you feel like you did wrong?
What I did right, I think, is joining the race, right? Because it was where my heart lied, and I wanted to represent the people voice that without being preconditioned. What I mean by that is like, if you work in the system so long, right, your ears are already full of other situations, so you can't really clearly hear the people. And if the council seat is truly represent the people voice, it should be someone who completely coming. Of course, they have to have the skill set, and they have the common sense and the balance to kind of make this tough decision on behalf of the people. So I think that's one thing I did right, which is join the race. What I do wrong, which is it's my first time. I didn't know what I'm supposed to be spending more time on, and more time are not like very effective or useful, right? For example, I spent a lot of time filling out questionnaire, like some days to like 3 a.m., like so many questionnaire from every single organization. I was burying questionnaire. And I'm just like dying in questionnaire. I remember, I don't know if you know Ray Leon.
Oh, he's one of my buddies. Yeah. I've known Ray Leon for 30 years.
Yes. So Ray Leon, come and hang out with Spice Monkey all the time. So I know Ray Leon know policy really well because that's what he does. So I call him and I'm like, can you help me? I'm just dying over here. And he's like, oh, I can't help you. Oh my God, I can't deal with that. I'm retired. Anyway. And in plus, he's like, oh my God, are you running against Armstrong? Because Armstrong's my buddy. So it's Oakland is a small town, what I realized. But long story short, I thought that was a waste of time. I mean, I should have just go out and really just take a recording of what people need and want and fix that instead, right? Whereas just like all these organizations who's sending me questions from like 10 questions to 75 questions about everything and everything. And I'm just sitting here. It's just like, oh my God. And I answer them all. And of course, I think I get like 3 endorsements or something crazy. And it's just like, what a waste of time. I should have been like at every flea market, every farmer's market, every BART station, knock on every door, so those are the kind of things that I think I could have done differently. And then money, like instead of like spending a lot of money on social media, like, text ad or, those pop-up ad or the YouTube, all of that, I don't think it really worked. I mean, I decided not to do the traditional mailing things because
what
it was
about
like
commercials? You thought about traditional commercials? But
those are kind of pricey, right? So we did pop-up banner, like what?
You can do ESPN for $1,000, get on late Friday night, run a 15-second ad, right?
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Next time I'm going to call you and strategize. I don't know. I did everything. I just didn't. It's my first time, but there's a lot of things we could have done different. There's same thing with like, what else? We got about 30 something volunteer, but I think that if we have like core volunteer and those people would stay on different like very particular tasks and not bounce around too much, maybe. But these are the kind of things that I'm looking in almost like in a way that if I was to run a restaurant, like how would I do it differently? You know, or of course, if I was to open Spice Monkey again, how would I do it now versus when I was in my 20, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the kind of thing. But it was quite a journey. It was fun. It was interesting. It's a lot of energy, lots of funding, and lots of work. But I get to hang out with you.
Hey,
Talk to you.
I get to hang out with you. Hey, that's the fun part.
You know, I was a big fan of your show prior, and I was like, gosh, if I get elected, I was going to call you and ask you how I can fix Oakland. You probably know all the answer.
I do have an answer. I'll tell you what the answer is, and people don't like to hear it. I had Brenda Grisham on last night and Seneca Scott. I actually invited Seneca and I keep calling him Eduardo, but Edward Escobar on, and you know, they're hardliner, anti-union. I'm not anti-union at all. I was in 1020 when it first started. I'm one of the first joiners. I remember when I was economic advisor to Elihu Harris, and Jeff Levine and a bunch of other people were circulating this union idea, and I joined. You know, I'm very proud of it because prior to 1020, as it was then, people who worked in policy positions and for elected officials didn't have a voice. You know, you didn't have a union voice, and that gave us a union voice. I thought was a very powerful and necessary thing. So I don't agree with the idea that because a union exists, it automatically exists to wreck government. The bottom line is that with government work, and this is what people have to understand as an equation. In order to do government work, you need people. And here's a funny thing. Even when there's artificial intelligence, which we've had for a long time, you really think about it, we still need people. Because for every new technology that comes out, there is a non-machine-like entity, you know, that, are you okay?
Oh, Aaron asking me where the umbrella is. Like,
raining.
say hi. It's raining. Say hi to Zenny. Oh,
Hey, how you doing, man?
Green.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Pretty good, man. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah. Is it raining outside? Is it?
It's raining outside. Yeah.
Oh no! It reminds me of that Supertramp song. It's raining again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to 1981. I love that Supertramp song. At any rate, stay dry, my friend. Anyway, it was. Oh, as far as
Union and
the situation as it was then, it was great to have that voice. And now, but I never saw us as trying to bankrupt government. My point is to everybody is that, look, you have to pay people to get a job done. And if you want to pay people less in order to control the budget, my thought is rather than do that, think about how we can get new monies. You and I talked about this before. We forgot how to do economic development in Oakland. I mean, you know, when the Devil Rays had in Florida, they're called the Rays, wound up in the Hurricane Milton situation where their roof of their ballpark was blown off, and we just lost the A's. Did you see us, other than me, going out and saying, hey, let's get them? No. You know, we don't do anything. And we have an economic development department that, I mean, what do they do? I mean, can you tell me the last big business we brought here? Do you know? Right.
nah.
Right.
Well, they're
nothing.
leaving. Kanitha's leaving. So
Right. And then can you tell me the last time that we used tax increment financing
yeah.
to fund affordable housing since 2015? Do you know?
No. Yeah.
We have used it. We talked about using it only in the A's case. All right. And then we didn't even get that done. And then we got mad when the A's wanted to leave, even though we were slow poking around. I told Libby, hey, your project manager doesn't know what she's doing. Hire me. You know, I said, look, I need something like that as work. Do it. We know you keep calling me your godbrother and all that. Put me in. Why don't hire my friends? It's BS. She does hire her friends. You know, straight up BS. And there's this idea out there. They say, well, you never hire your friends, and it's not nepotism, because look at Molly Mayburn when she was project manager for Howard Terminal. You know what she put on her LinkedIn at first? Was happy to be reunited with her old friend Betsy Lake. She put that on her profile. I vlogged it. Because this goes back to Kanitha. This goes back to Jerry Brown saying, well, you know, those black folks, and he did say this when he was running. Well, those black folks, they have this black power structure. We have to just get rid of it. Their friends hiring friends. Well, the same thing today, but basically Jerry Brown is saying, well, I guess, you know, it's okay if they're white, right? And give me a break, because that's what we have. All right? And people are always going to hire their friends. That's fact. You can't get over it. You can't engineer your way out of it. You can't make these stupid laws and all that. The bottom line is, are these folks getting the job done? And if they're not, you have to make a change. And and they haven't done that. And when I came into Oakland, my dream job was working for the Oakland Redevelopment Agency as an intern. My mom's going to talk to me about myself too much. I got to stop. But, you know, the whole point is I have a history. And I'll say this and I'll revert back to, you know, focus on you, of course, but it already is. But all I'm saying, Kanitha, is that Jerry Brown stole Forest City from me. Forest City housing in Oakland, I brought Forest City to Oakland. I gave a presentation, 1997 International Council of Shopping Center Spring Convention. Robert Bob was there. Larry Reed was there, representing the city of Oakland, as well as Phil Tagami was there, and Kofi Bonner. He was our our economic development director, and my classmate of mine from Cal 1985, all right, city planning. And he later became interim city manager before we brought in Mr. Bob. Then we brought in Bob, and Kofi went back to being economic development director. So anyway, I gave a presentation. Forest City was sold. I also came that close to getting the man, all right, the man who was the developer of the home for the Oscars, all right, David Malmuth. I came that close to getting him to come to Oakland. And
wow.
Yeah, and I remember, I'll never forget, I cold called David Malmuth. I cold called him. And David said, you know, he said to me, okay, Zinni, I got 5 minutes. Tell me why I should be in Oakland focusing on Uptown, what we call Uptown. And he said straight out that, and I told him about the statistics. I said we have 114,000 vehicle movements daily. I just laid the whole thing down. And long story short, he goes, okay, Zinni, I'm sold. You know, I'm sold. And so but then he turned around and said, you know what, look, I am in the middle of building the home of the Oscars. If this doesn't work out, I'm coming to Oakland. Now, you might listen to me say that and say, yeah. Prove it. Well, I'll prove it because I had him on talking about it. Years later, that's David Malmuth. And let me and I'll just change this for a second. I'm not going to play the whole thing, of course, but change the echo cancellation just so you can hear this. But this is Mr. Malmuth right here.
Everybody, this is a fantastic day. 1 week before the Academy Awards, I have someone I've admired for a good chunk of my life, and I'll tell you how I came to meet him. What happened was, I read about you, David, in Fortune, about the New Amsterdam Theater. And I was the newly hired economic advisor for L.U. Harris, and I thought, I got to call this man. So I bound up cold calling you, essentially, as they say. And I remember you said to me, give me a pitch. Okay, why should I be here? And I told you about Uptown and the throughput traffic and all that. And you said, okay, look, I'm working on the new home for the Academy Awards. If it doesn't happen, let's talk. Well, it did happen. It did happen.
And I'm very proud of that. And Kanitha, the reason why I show that is to show that this is what you can do if you believe in your city. We have people who don't believe in Oakland. They don't do stuff like this. I did it. I called Michael Ovitz, who created Tom Cruise. I cold called the man because I was in charge of bringing together buyer teams to find buyers for the Oakland Athletics in 1997, excuse me. I wound up I called Ovitz. We had a great conversation. He put me in touch with Lon Rosen, who is Magic Johnson's manager and friend to this day. I talked to Lon for a long time. And then I got Frank Robinson, John Cariotis had called me. I was trying to bring the three of them together. I left it to Cariotis to finish the job. He didn't do it. Why? There's a term I want to use, but I'm not going to bother using it here. I'll just say it didn't happen. And then Pucciniti was going to do it. They had another group that fell through. Okay. And we got what we eventually had after that in terms of the A's new ownership then. But my point is that when you work for the city or any city and you're representing that person, you do not close yourself out to any possibility. And you get on the phone and call them. You don't text them. You don't just send an email. You get on the phone and call them. And if you can't talk to them, it don't matter. If you can't get them, you figure out a way to fly there, show up on their doorstep. Anything you do, it's for your city. That's what I did. These people today, they don't care. They don't do it like that. And the city shows it. That's why we look the way that we do. This is because we have people in government who don't care. I don't care. You want to prove they care? Stop talking it. Do it. Make it happen. Toot sweet. Hurry up. You know? I mean, it pisses me off because I've been there. I know how to do it. I came that close. We had, after I called Robert A.M. Stern, the architects, one of the greatest architects of our time, talked to him for 30 minutes. He sent his deputy, Paul Whalen, to do what would have been the Times Square of the West. Long story short, the concept was we were going to put up 140 million. We're going to have a developer competition, right? And we're going to put all the models up in City Hall, and you could vote on those models for what Uptown would look like. We're going to revive Uptown as the theater district it was in the 20s. With its own design standards. We had no design standards whatsoever. What I mean by that is, what the signage looks like, what the, light standards look like, what the sidewalks look like, and the curbs and the whole 9 yards. We have no design standards to this day. Nothing that marks like the gas lamp district of San Diego. We got nothing like that. And we could have these things. Elihu didn't want to give them $100,000. I don't know if Elihu was afraid of me being successful or what. And he admits that it was a mistake today. We're still friends. Although I feel like he owes me $5 million. Anyway, the whole point. No, because what I did, from what I did was what a person is supposed to do. And I did it. I remember I went to bat for Phil Tagami as a friend. Why? Because Phil was massively depressed. He was working his butt up, trying to get the rotunda done. He had clawed Roy Schreier over there in housing 96 times. I had the call sheet. I don't have it to this day, but I had the call sheet 96 times. So I said, Phil, give me all the studies you have about the rotunda. This was in 96. They were like this tall. Okay, that tall. We had the Community Economic Development Agency meeting. I represented LU that morning on Tuesday. I grabbed the whole kit and caboodle when it was my turn to talk on the agenda that I put up there, and I let them drop on the table and went boom, loud. Ignored the heck out of Ignacio, who was sitting over here, and I said, "Look, we have all these studies done. We spent $7 million. You've given developers from New York to Timbuktu a chance. We haven't given Mr. Tagami a chance." And this wasn't something I asked. I wasn't even thinking about getting paid for that sort of thing. No, I was already getting paid. I'm working for Elihu. I was doing the job of the city to make sure that somebody who had, as he was putting it, he was equity rich and cash poor. Phil wasn't rich in those days. But Phil had the drive to get it done. All right? And that's what you do. You back your people. You back the people like us backing you as an entrepreneur. That's what we're supposed to do. If we come in, you don't have to give us a free dinner. We pay for our dinner, right? We're proud of the fact that we make you whole. That's what government is supposed to do. Sorry for talking that, but it just pisses me off. And it pisses me off we have these dunderheads that allow this stuff. I'm talking about you, the Oakland electorate. You guys allow this stuff, and gals, you allow this stuff. It's ridiculous. Let me change your voice here. So okay, because I had to take it off of yeah. Okay, now go ahead. Yeah.
It's amazing how we are frustrated, but the election result is pretty much similar to what it was. So we haven't done any change.
No. We have to do something. So folks out there, call Tim Dupuis. Tell him this, to look at this matter. I sent him an email. I haven't got back to him. He hasn't got back to me. I'm gonna call him. Okay. So what's the next step for you guys? What's the next step in all this?
For me, in terms of with the election voting thing, or I'm hoping that we will get some kind of acknowledgement and correction of the request, and hopefully that will be. Now I will be looking very closely in the next election, because we're going to continue going if it doesn't change, and hopefully it will be, because we can't have this going on anymore, because the people are suffering big time. The citizens of Oakland really need change. I need change. Everybody needs change. We can't afford to do business here. We can't afford to live here. We can't afford to do anything here. It's amazing how it's so broken. Yep. And I think that we have a very big year, and Oakland needs a lot of attention, and we need people who will come in and help doing that. And so I'm excited for that situation. So we'll see what's going to happen next. And
are you going to run for office again?
I've been asked. I'm actually asked to join the special election that's coming up now. It's like Soylent Green. Have you watched that movie?
It's not animals, it's people. Yeah.
It's a joke of mine. Once you know too much, where do you go from here, right? So it's just I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it.
Soylent Green. Oh my God. That is folks, if you've never seen Soylent Green, okay, right here, you can watch it on YouTube. You can rent it.
It's pretty an interesting movie, and who recommended that to me was Nancy Sidebotham.
Yeah.
She's the one who told me that if I want to understand Oakland, I should just watch Soylent Green.
Wait a minute. Let me call Nancy real quick. Let's see if I can get a hold of it. That's hilarious. Hold on a second.
It's going to be my new favorite thing now. I love it. Thank you, Nancy. I'm enlightened.
That's hilarious. Hold on a second here. I probably don't get a hell over. Nancy, how are you?
I'm fine. How you doing? How's your mom?
Oh, thank you for asking. She's wonderful downstairs, waiting for me to come down and join her for dinner. I've got Kanitha on. We're on live, and Kanitha told me it was you. This is Nancy, who turned her on to Soylent Green, right?
Oh yeah, it's my new favorite movie.
I did.
Yeah, tell us in your own words why you did that.
Because that's where we're headed. It's what's the asshole that owns Windows or Mac?
You mean
Bill Gates?
Bill
Gates is heading in that direction. Trust me.
Oh, Bill Gates is Microsoft. The other guy is Steve Jobs who died.
Yeah, but Bill Gates is the one that's making all the false food in laboratories.
Oh, yeah.
Are you saying that that false food is people?
Not yet. Will be.
Because that's what Soylent Green is. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, that's what Soylent Green's all about. That's what they go in there making cookies or baked, like little pies or cakes out of bodies.
Yeah, Impossible Burger.
I mean, food's already at a limit now. China's buying up the Midwest and like crazy because they're growing all their stuff here to feed China.
That's
You
true.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
That's true.
Yeah, we're exporting chopstick.
Yeah.
Hey, but they don't care because the name of the game is, like Bill Gates said, I'm going to start another epidemic so that we can kill more people off. He literally said that.
No,
When did
my.
he say that? When did he say that?
About 3 or 4 months ago. It's online.
Oh, you got to send me that link. I'm dying.
If
Oh
I
my
can
God.
I got to find it. But no, check it out. But the guy's nuts.
Because
He
I do
signed up
believe
the
that,
Midwest.
right. I do believe the pandemic was person made. Not man,
yeah.
person made, right?
Right, and his money was behind it.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow, my God.
Sitting here without looking at where all this is coming from.
Hey, Nancy, I got to ask you, we talked about the ballot controversy, and what are your thoughts about it, and what would you like to see done? I'm delighted to see you two great ladies team up, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we tried teaming up in the very beginning, but things went the way they did.
How was that?
Because Kanitha contacted me right as soon as we all signed up. So, but whatever happened, we never got together.
Oh, because I talked to Frank Robinson the other day about it, and he was hemming and hawing, and I mentioned it in my blog. And he's my buddy, but I got after him. I thought, man, you shouldn't do that. I said, you're a pastor, man. You're supposed to be a man of your word.
But Zinni, remember, years ago, when you reached a certain point of who you wanted in office, they stopped counting the votes. So the machinery that they're bringing in there, I mean, nobody's staying on top of any of this. The county's falling apart. The city's already falling apart. Nobody's paying attention to anything.
Right. That's right. Right. Well, why?
So where I'm at on all of this is I want to blow the place up. I am trying to get the state to audit the city of Oakland. I want people in jail.
My phone is.
No. Oh, wait. She doesn't mean actually blow up. Okay, don't go and arrest her, Oakland police. All right.
Okay.
I mean that.
It's already blown.
Yes, I have to hook up my phone. It's about the.
It already is.
Okay.
There's bodies all over the place with just what happened regarding the assholes that are the recycling people. I mean, come on, that's just now. That's not talking about before and Don Parada and all the other game players that have been in the past.
Okay. You guys, my phone's about to die.
Oh, okay. Let's do. Oh, don't. You know what? Let's do this.
Kanitha.
That's a good
Yes.
way. We'll pick this up, Nancy. Let's all three come back next week and talk more about that. Can we do that? Okay, cool. All right, Nancy.
Go take care of your mom and give her my love.
I will thank you.
All right.
Love you very much. Thank you. All right. And hey,
Talk
can
later.
you? See ya.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. So we'll see you before you cut off. All right.
Okay.
Oh, I got the stream. You don't have to do anything. Hold us up.
Oh.
Thanks, everybody.